Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Clueless 8, and now we're going to cover individual stocks and many that I've consistently showed as my trading vehicles, large, uh, high momentum technology movers, um, and which have paid the bills very, very handsomely over many years and still doing so, especially when we have been buying them at downtrodden levels where no one wants to touch them, no one talks about them, everyone hates them, and that's the time to do it. Let's look at Google, and I'm going to keep this very simple. These gray lines are Bollinger Bands. These are moving averages. So I'm going to keep it very simple today. This is the 50-week moving average. Okay, the red line. So look what happens when it touches the red line or comes close to it. It bounces. It's really, it's simple as that. These internals are suggesting that we are basically starting our move up. Anyone who thinks they missed out on buying Google at 510, 511, well, let me just put it this way. No one really buys Google at 510, 511 because at that point, the cacophony of bearish and short voices are dominate the airwaves and the trader landscape. So no one really buys this. Then they see this reversal candle, they still don't believe it. Nothing happens. This is the type of green candle which convinces technicians, hopefully the ones which are not uber dogmatic on their bearish views, that this thing is moving higher. Okay, so this confirms the move, that this is a real deal, and this obviously internals are supporting it. So simple stuff. I believe that Google on a weekly basis, whether it be next week or the week after, I think it's going to be probably next week, we get to 568, which is the mid Bollinger. Okay, this all correlates with the Fibonacci retracements I've shown and other trend lines and things I've drawn, but tonight I'm just going to keep it simple and look at the Bollingers and the moving averages. We have crossed over the ever important 34, the 34 moving average, 34 day, 34 week moving average. In this case, the 34 week. Very important. Okay, so we are on a bullish level. It looks like it wants to go and hit the 566 level. We know what the bearish view is. It comes back and touches the 50-day moving average at 511. So that's always there. But at this point in time, given the favorable winds in the market so far, we and the move on the technology side, I believe that we get up towards this 566 level. So keep that on your target. That's another 15 to 20, roughly about 17 points from here, 15 points from here. Okay, do not forget that I made the call to buy Google back in the 520s. All right, so we are up almost 30 points from there. So just keep those parameters in mind. And I believe I might have made a call around these levels, but I think my call was more convincing at these levels, around the 520 levels. That's Google. Let's look at Apple. This is the weekly chart of Apple. Shown this many times and show it again. Okay, I'm not drawing any lines tonight, none of the fancy stuff that I do, just looking at the Bollinger, just looking at the moving averages. Apple has now crossed over its upper Bollinger, which by the way is starting to curl up. Okay, when Bollingers curl up like it did back here in the 2012 range, look what happens. They start to turn up, the candles just burst through the Bollingers and drag it higher. Look at that. Study these things, you'll see how, to me it just tells a story. To a lot of people this is all mumbo jumbo, but you know what, it works. So if that type of situation happens, these Bollingers are going to be dragged up and moved up like this. Okay, pattern similarity with 2012. I don't know if that's going to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and predict that. All I'm saying is the Bollinger's been broken. This is a very powerful move. Generally speaking, when Bollingers are moving up and they break up over the Bollinger, they will come down and test it a little bit. So Apple might very well come down and test the 585 to 600 level. It's at 606. For it to test 600 takes about 5 minutes. But if it does go, I've said it before and I've shown it before, we are now above the 600 mark. Big psychological move. Okay, and above that, what's there? Above that, there is this peak of of April 9th 2012, and that's around 647. Again, I am restraining myself from drawing trend lines and such because that's where the numbers kind of cross around that 646 647 level. Look at my previous charts for that type of uh, validation through my drawings, but not on this chart. So that's Apple for you. Let's take a look at another monster, Netflix. It's just a monster. Okay, sitting here dissecting every little move that Mr. Reed Hastings does and why Netflix is so crappy and stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even these bozos on CNBC and a lot of smart bozos too acknowledge that they were just sitting there on the sidelines watching. So in the case of Netflix here, we came down, we tested the lower Bollinger here, we fell below the 50. So much negative talk going around. What's going on? Netflix is going to go to $200 or 190 and God knows what. And then it just makes that huge candle reversal on the 28th of April. Never looks back. Stays above the 50. Stays above the 50. In hindsight, of course, everything is 2020. But hey, you can sit back, relax, look at these things, learn from them, not be scared, and grab the bull by the horns and run with it. Similarly, grab the bear and paw down everything in sight. And that was here, right? So what we're seeing is a asymmetric perfect pattern reversal. Okay, this is going to at least go up back towards the 450 level from the looks of it, just the way it fell here on a waterfall decline week after week. Okay, week after week. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, and then based itself over the next 3, and then now it's turning. Look at the pattern symmetry. This bar is this bar, this red bar is this. So all this falls into place. You just have to focus. So this green bar is now going to be up here, so we're going to go to about 407, maybe rest a little bit there. Okay, so you got another 17 points in Netflix, and the more we stare at it, and we sit aside and do nothing and wait for it to pull back and come to us, it's not going to do it, because now the shorts, institutional shorts, the hedge funds who are short, and the fund managers who believe in this company are buying it hard. These are the elephant paws or elephant footprints or whatever you call it that's coming in. These are the mutual funds buying and the shorts covering. So I'm looking at on a short-term basis around 408. End of story with Netflix. Let's look at Priceline. Another beast in the making. Let me move this line here. It's broken above its downtrend line. Let me move this, make it a clean chart. Okay, let me enhance it. Priceline, same story here. We came back, tested the 50, big hammer reversal, not as pronounced as Netflix. There was no green body on this candle. Zigzagged around, very, very indecisive. First week that has been very decisive. At this point, I'm looking at around 1206. So we got roughly about 30 points on this one. Play the weekly calls. Don't keep them close to the vest. Buy a little bit. Leave it in there. Buy a little bit more if it does the normal zigzag. But at this point, I believe we get towards 1215, 1216. After that, we are looking at 1241, and beyond that, Priceline can possibly hit. This is an open gap here. Same pattern reversal going on here. I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with Priceline. Given summer is coming, all kinds of different seasonal catalysts are in play, and it's good to go. So I'm just grabbing whatever 20, 30 points, getting along the way, and it's a lot of money. Okay, so don't just sit there and stare. Act on it, like I say. What's your downside? We already know it. The downside is basically 1095, or around 1126. Anything can happen, but for now we're looking at where this is heading. It's heading towards about 1216. All right, internals are supporting the move. Pcln is starting to creep up. We need more volume, and this is the first week we actually had a green candle on the volume. Keeping it simple here, guys. Keeping it simple. Next set of charts coming up.